In this video, we're going to talk about using index, and I called it a special index with indirect. And for this example, we don't have to worry about match. So if I go back to the previous worksheet, you'll notice that we had index. All it wants is a row number and a column number. And we're going to, generally we use match. But in this example, the column number is going to be the category. So in this example, we're doing a variety of training. So we have tutoring, we have math, and we have writing. And each of these, I'm going to select tutoring. You can see how we have identified those. So, excuse me. So the indirect, you'll remember, will take a text string, which will be, for instance, tutoring, and it will convert it into a range. So I've named that range, so it will pull up this information. So if we change tutoring, for instance, to let's say math, you'll see that it's highlighted the product numbers for math. So we're going to use an index along with an indirect to populate these six categories. And what's going to be neat is if, again, we're going to build in using blank if there's no values, this will grow and shrink as these grow and shrink. We only have 6, so obviously we can't have more than 6, otherwise, they wouldn't show up. So what we're going to do is we're going to choose the items. You'll notice that the data along this side of the screen has item and projection. This is just the number of students. And then we have, for math, we have the same thing, and we have writing, and notice they're different sizes. So we're going to create 2 functions over here, and then we'll just copy them down, and it will use the indirect to direct to this data, depending on which row it is. So if we're at row 2, the index will retrieve, if we're using tutoring, this product 37. If we're on row 4, it will retrieve product 50. If we're on row 6, there is no 6, so then it'll just display a blank. So in this instance, we're just going to do it all in one shot. So we're going to use, we'll add if error in a minute. So we'll add equal index. And basically, there is no lookup value, but there is an array, and that's what we're going to use the indirect for. So remember the indirect, oh here, let me get out of here 1 second. I have these set for center, and it goes off the screen, so I'm just changing the alignment of the cell. So here we'll do equal index, and the first thing it wants to know is the array. And remember, the array with the index is my data. So it's going to be this information over here on the right-hand side. Well, we don't know which one we're going to use. That's really going to depend on what we choose here in B3. So we're going to use the indirect, and that is going to identify or use B3. Now, we haven't done much with absolutes when working with indirect, but since we know we're going to copy this down, we do want that B3 to be absolute. So I'll make it absolute, and then I will close the parenthesis. So now I'm back to the index. Once I hit comma, it's going to want to know the row number. Well, the row number is simply A5. So we have the first category, second, third, fourth, which is first, second, third, fourth. And then we will close this. Okay, oh, actually close it too fast, because remember, the index has the row number, but then we also need to know a column number. And notice there are 2 columns over here. So we actually want the first column because we want the item number to be here. And then we can close it. We get so used to just using a row, but in many instances, we'll also have a column. So let's hit enter, and you'll see that it brought up product 34. So if I come up here to tutoring, and I change that, let's say, to writing, you'll see that it brings up product 100. Before we move this down, we're going to add the if error, because if I copy this down, notice I get a reference here because there is no data. So we'll just do that in a second. So I'm going to bring this back to tutoring just because that's where we're starting. So now let's do this again, but this time we're going to use the second column because we want to know the projection. So we'll do equal index. Then we want the return array, so that's where we use the indirect, and that'll be B3. And since we know we're copying this down, we want that to be absolute. Oh, wrong button. And then we'll close that. And then it wants to know the row number. So we're still working with, in essence, row 1, so we'll just choose the category, comma. Previously, we did column 1 for the item. Here we want to do column 2. So this is sort of like using the VLOOKUP. What column number are we returning? And then we'll close the parenthesis. And now I'll bring these back to being sent. Oh no, I'm not until we do the if error. So if we change this to writing, the first category is product 100 and it returns 3. Now since this is live, I can make this 1 and you'll see that it changes over here. Or maybe I make it, oops, sorry, where am I? There we are. Make it 0 and it'll return 0. But we'll put a value here. We'll just undo that, bring it back. So now, again, if I copy this down, it will work for the first 3 rows, but I don't have any product for 4, 5, or 6. So that's where we're going to build in the if error. So we'll start over here, and if error helps if I spell it right. Too many ifs. There we go. And then basically all we want to do is return a blank. So when you do a blank, it's just simply 2 double quotes side by side. So now if I center that now, bring it back to normal, and I bring this down, writing only has 3, so it displays the 3. The 4th, 5th, and 6th, since there is no value there, the if error puts that as a blank. So we'll do the same thing over here. So you'll notice I put the if error last just to make sure that everything is working right, and then I incorporated it. If you feel comfortable doing it all in one shot, then just do it all in one go. So now we'll copy those down. So now if we go up here and we choose math, we have 2 items. That's all that we have here. Everything else, in essence, these have all been errored because there's no data for it. And if I go up here to tutoring, or if I go down here to writing. So when we work with these, the little drop-down menu is going to choose or allow us to choose which product we're using or what product category we're using. And I don't have it here, but we could have more products over here as long as you name them. So you do want to name these ranges. So if I do math, you can see where math is. Otherwise, it's not going to work right. So that is a kind of a special case of using index and indirect without the match. Again, if I just pull this up real quick, you will see that what is normally the row has just been referenced to A5 because that will change as we go down. And then the column, we want the first column. And then with projection, we change the column to 2. And if we had a 3rd or 4th or 5th, okay, I want to see the 5th one. Maybe we have prices here, so then I don't want it to show projection. I want to do price, so then I could change that to 3, and it would select that. But you have to make sure that the range picks that up as well. So that is using kind of a special case of index and indirect at the same time.